Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Mario Wallace, and today I have an interesting topic for you. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my podcast by clicking on the link below and turning on your notifications. What if all doctoral studies had a sequenced approach for ease of practicality for small business owners? Let me explain. The purpose of a doctoral study is to provide solutions that can be applied to business settings, or may I say, can be applied immediately to business settings. Most doctoral studies are housed in academic journals, academic literature, academic databases, places where the average business owner never seeks to look for that information. In fact, if the business owner knew where to find that information, based on the context of the research, the context and the rigor of the information, it would be way too confusing for them to be able to use it for application. The actual section where the researcher attempts to explain how his or her research should be applied to business settings is the application for business practicality. And in this section, the researcher actually talks about how the research is or is not aligned with the conceptual framework. And that's just in itself is an entirely different conversation that will be way too confusing for a business owner. What we need is a practical model, a step-by-step guide that business owners need to be able to apply research to their business. We also need to give them access to where that model is, where they do not have to be digging into foreign databases, academic research journals, confusing the process even more. They need direct access to this information to actually move their businesses forward. What I propose is for the doctoral student or the practitioner to be able to design a model similar to the order of operations that's used in math, to help them be able to look at their emergent themes or their research findings and place them in a order, a sequential order, such as a step-by-step order, where there is similar to what we call interdependencies, where the sum of the whole is greater than the individual parts, right? We need a model in which can work together, collectively together, that's a guide for business owners to be able to use to apply to their business. I remember my sophomore semester in college when I first learned about the order of operation. That was like life savings for me. Before then, I was challenged to put the pre-algebraic equation in the right order as far as how to answer. Is it parentheses? Is it multiplication first? Is it division? Is it math? Is it subtraction? Those things was confusing to me. So I always would get the problems wrong because I didn't understand the order of operation. It's the same thing that we need to teach to doctoral students or practitioners, how to take their emergent themes, put them in a practical sequential order that creates synergy that a small business owner can use to advance his or her business. So one method that a professor taught me about the order of operations was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? So that made it very clear. Please, parentheses, excuse exponents, my multiplication, dear division, aunt addition, and Sally subtraction. That made it an easy flow for me to remember whenever I approach an order of operation equation. So the conclusion of a doctoral study, or the end, where the research finding and applications for business practicality ends in emergent themes. And the emergent themes are not in any type of sequential order. They're like unorganized. They're just there, right? So the research finding is great, how they evolved or arrived at the emergent themes. But for business practicality, I think we need to go a little further for business owners to be able to understand the sequential order of those emergent themes for practicality. So I propose the sequenced emergent theme model. As you can see on the screen, it's basically shaped like a pyramid, with the bottom of the pyramid is the foundation. So basically, what's the foundation is the element that goes first, the most important element within the emergent themes. And you have second, third, fourth, fifth, and however far you go. Some research emergent themes or studies have 5 to 6, some have 2 to 3. It depends on the research, the findings within the research. However, we need some type of order or sequential order. And I think an easy approach is for us to just look at the emergent themes and begin to organize them sequentially using this model. And I think it shows a real ease of application of using this approach to simplify how and not make it more complex for a practitioner to be able to organize their findings in some type of sequential order. So if you look at the screen and look at the emergent themes, you can see that they're in an unorganized order. And I didn't place them in this order. This is the order in which it came from the research. Now, and I'm not blaming the researcher or practitioner for the order, because the only expectation is to identify emergent themes within large sums of data to report out for a doctoral study for other practitioners and scholars to use to understand what are the core elements that can create some type of success or sustainability in the business sector. But if you look at these, from the top, you see strategic business and financial planning, risk management and cost control, innovation and niche marketing, environmental scan, and networking and relationship building. Well, if that particular order, if we're thinking about application that a small business owner or a business manager could use for application, this order is not providing any type of foundation to help that person. Or now, if you look at it in my sequenced emergent theme model, now you see some type of how the whole is greater than the sum of its individual parts. You see how the model can work together. You see steps or interdependencies, meaning how two parts together has a greater value than one part, and how 5 parts within this one have a greater value than 5 individual parts, right? So we see a structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a sequential linear structure, right? So now we have environmental scan as the first one, because the basis of any type of approach to research is to understand what your competitors are doing and what's taking place in the market or the environment. Secondly, is to, based on understanding those that what's taking place in the market or the environment or your competitors, is, well, how do we use that to create some type of niche market, and how do we innovate, right? The next is, how do we align partners, or how do we network and build relationships through partners based on our niche marketing? And fourth, we start to think about, so now let's build a strategic plan based on what we've seen, based on our partners, based on our innovative model, and lastly, risk management and cost control. So what is the risk within the strategy? Let's look at not operational, because that's within the day-to-day operation of business, but what's the strategic risk that relates directly with the strategy, that we can develop action plans, we can mitigate, or we can create contingency plans to ensure the sustainability of the strategy over long periods of time. Now, after the model is designed, there has to be an additional step, right? So my point was, how do we make research more practicality for business owners, but also how do we give access to this research to business owners? So after the model is created, the dissertation is done, we create the application for business practice section, but we've included a sequenced emergent theme model for business owners. Now, how do we communicate that information out to the public? We can do multiple things or various things, such as we can publish, but not in in academic journals, but in local newspapers, local magazines, right? We can actually do blog posts and share that information directly to and target local business owners. We can also use our research to create consulting around it so that we can be that expert or that practitioner that's teaching how to use the model. So we can actually go out and consult business owners. We can also create trainings around our model, training programs. Basically, if we create a training program, we also need to talk about we need to associate tools or instruments that support each emergent theme. So they can have a practical approach, not just with the sequence order, but also actual tools to use in order to help them apply the theory. I mean, there I go with the research again. To help them to apply the model to their business. So if you're a doctoral student or practitioner who wants to learn more about the sequenced emergent theme model, please reach out to me at Mario Wallace on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And on Twitter, please use my handle and let me look at it at MDWallace2. Thank you. If this podcast sounds right to you, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the comments. Peace out.